No, it's perfect. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Allahumma waffiqna min al-aqwali wal-a'mali lima tuhibbuhu wa tarda. Qala Allah ta'ala, Allah said, وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةِ أي وَاسْأَلْ أهل القرية, and ask the people of the village التي كنا فيها, that we were in, i.e. Egypt. وَالْعِيرَ الَّتِي أَقْبَلْنَا فِيهَا, and the caravan that we traveled in, i.e. the people that were in the caravan that we traveled in, ask them both. وَإِنَّا, and indeed we are لَصَادِقُونَ, wallahi, telling the truth. We stopped at the part where Yusuf alayhi salam, he's now the Minister of Finance. He has the treasures of Egypt. And what happens is his brothers and his father and his family, who are where? In Sham, Palestine, Canaan to be precise. Their father tells them, go for a second time and get some more supplies. When they go, we got to the part where one of them was found guilty for stealing, and that was Binyamin. But who made him look like a stealer, a robber? His brother Yusuf. And he done that strategically so he may be reunited with his brother. So what happened after that was, the oldest brother amongst them, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, he decided to say, I'm not going to come back with you because dad is going to be very upset with us, and I have to fulfill the promise that we gave him, that we must return back with Yusuf. So he said, I am not going to leave this land until I get a command from him to come back, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decrees it. So what he told them was, go back to our father and tell him that Yusuf alayhi salam, that Binyamin he's stolen. Therefore he could not come. That's where we got to. And they said to him, say to our father a few things. Number one, say, we weren't present when he done whatever he done, so you can't necessarily blame us for it. Neither, O our father, are we in control of the decree of Allah, so we just can't do anything about it. But me, I'm not going to come. This part, now what happens is they go back to their father and they tell him those things, but they also say, وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةِ. There's a word which has been deleted here. It's أَهْلَ الْقَرْيَةِ, أهل, the people of. And this happens a lot in the Quran, where words are deleted, they're not mentioned in there. Because look, if right now we said وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةِ, what does that translate to be? And ask the village. How can you ask a village something? This is one of the miracles of the Quran. This is one of the miracles of the Quran. It's called حذف المضاف. And it's important that you guys know that, inshallah. For example, Allah said in the Quran, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ وَلَا أَنَا عَابِدٌ مَا عَبَدتُمْ وَلَا أَنْتُمْ عَابِدُونَ مَا أَعْبُدُ. 4 times. So does that always mean I don't worship what you worship, you don't worship what I worship, and I don't worship what you worship, and you don't worship what I worship? Is that no repetition? There's a word that is been deleted. And inshallah we can come on to that another time, inshallah ta'ala. So what happens next? قال الله تعالى, Allah said, وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةَ, and asked أهل القرية, asked the people of the village, التي كنا فيها, that we were in. I asked the people of Egypt, which was where they were at, asked them about whether or not he actually stole or not. وَالْعِيرَ, and asked the caravan, أي أهل العير. Here, there as well. You don't ask a caravan a question. You ask the people that were with you in the caravan when we were going from Palestine to Egypt. التي أقبلنا فيها, that we had traveled in. وإنا لصادقون, and wallahi, truly we are telling the truth. What did the father reply? قال, the father said, بل, that's not the case. سولت لكم أنفسكم أمرا. سولت لكم أنفسكم. Your souls had tempted you, amran, to do a matter. And that is to accuse Binyamin of stealing. فَصَبَرٌ جَمِيلٌ, أي أَمْرِي صَبَرٌ جَمِيلٌ. Even there's a word that's deleted. فَصَبَرٌ جَمِيلٌ, so a beautiful patient. That doesn't make sense. The mubtada has been deleted. فَأَمْرِي, or فَشَأْنِي, my matter is صَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ, beautiful patience. عَسَى اللَّهُ, perhaps Allah, أَن يَأْتِيَنِي بِهِمْ, that He will bring all of them, جَمِيعًا, every single one of my children back to me. I hope that He will do that. إِنَّهُ, because He, Allah, huwa, is Al-Alimu, the knowing, Al-Hakimu, the wise. وَتَوَلَّى, and Yusuf turned, and Yaqub turned away from, anhum, away from them. وَتَوَلَّى, Yaqub turned, anhum, away from his children. وَقَالَ, and he said, يَا أَسَفَا, أي يَا أَسَفِي, oh my sadness and sorrow, عَلَى Yusuf, how great is it? وَبَيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ, and his eyes became white, مِنَ الْحُزْنِ, from his sorrow and sadness over Yusuf, فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ, and he was hiding it. They go back to their father. They tell him, your son has stolen, therefore he hasn't been able to come back with us. He's been kept over there as a slave, because that's the rule in Palestine. The father, he replies and says to them, no, you're playing your game again. Your soul has beautified for you to do the same thing. That was the same thing he said to them before when they said he was eaten by a wolf, right? What did he say? قَالَ بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ أَمْرًا فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. He said, all I'm going to do is be patient with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A beautiful patience. What's the difference between sabr and sabrun jameel? Sabrun jameel, he said, a patience that doesn't have complaining, not accepting Allah's qadar. Why is it happening to me? Why is it me again? Why is it always happening to me? Why is Allah not helping me? It's a patience that has no complaining. But Yaqub, look at how confident he was. And look at the husnul dhan that he had with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is one of the benefits we'll come to at the end. He didn't just say, I'm going to be patient. He said, I'll be patient. Perhaps through my patience, Allah will bring all of my children back to me. Not just Binyamin. He's going to bring Binyamin and Yusuf to me, and who? And the oldest one amongst them, who stayed behind as well. All three of them, inshallah, my Lord will bring them back to me. Then what did he do? He turned away from them, and then he started to cry, and he would cry, and he would cry, and he would cry. Ibn Kathir, he mentions for 7 years what happened just now of the news that his other son's not going to come, this moment, all the way until later when they find Yusuf, when they go back to Yusuf alayhi salam as a family. 7 years was between that. As-Suddi, he also mentions, that Imam al-Tabari, he brings and says that for 7 years in a row, there wasn't a day except Yaqub would cry. And there wasn't a day except his sadness and sorrow would become ever so severe. To the extent Allah said, وَبْيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ, his eyes became white. Which part of our eyes are not white? The pupils, right? That means he became blind because of how much he was crying. وَبِيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ, his eyes became white. مِنَ الْحُزْنِ, أي من بكائه لسبب حزنه. He started to become blind due to the fact that he was crying so much, due to his sadness over Yusuf alayhi salam mainly, but also his son Binyamin and the other one as well. Allah said, فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ, he didn't make it ever so apparent. Another tafsir of that is, فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ, it reached a pinnacle of sadness that a human being can go through. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he says, فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ, أي اشتدت حزنه, أو اشتد حزنه, his sadness became ever so severe. Let's go over that again. وَاسْأَلِ الْقَرْيَةَ أي وَاسْأَلْ أَهْلَ الْقَرْيَةِ Ask the people of the village التي كنا فيها that we were in, i.e. Egypt. وَالْعِيرَ التي أقبلنا فيها And ask the people that were with us in the caravan when we traveled with it. وَإِنَّا And indeed us وَاللَّهِ لَصَادِقُونَ We're telling the truth. قال their father Yaqub said, بَلْ سَوَّلَتْ لَكُمْ أَنفُسُكُمْ No, that's not the case, but rather your soul has tempted you amran to do a matter, which is again to make me sad. فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ أي فَأَمْرِي صَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ My matter is nothing but beautiful patience. I'm not going to complain and cry. عَسَى اللَّهُ Perhaps Allah أَن يَأْتِيَنِي بِهِمْ جَمِيعًا He will bring all of my children back to me. إِنَّهُ Indeed He, Allah, He is the one that is Al-Alimu, all-knowing, Al-Hakimu, all-wise. وَتَوَلَّى عَنْهُمْ And their father turned away from them وَقَالَ And said, Ya asafa, Ya asafa used to be, asaf is huzn, sadness, sorrow. But it used to be Ya asafi, Ya huzni. But the Ya got turned to a alif because it's heavy on the tongue. So ibdal happened, which is of course known in sarf, it happens a lot. Ya asafa, Ya asafi. Oh, how great is my sorrow ala Yusuf regarding Yusuf. وَبَيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ And his eyes became white min al-huzni due to his sadness. فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ And he went to the extreme pinnacle of sadness. قَالُوا What did they say? What was the reply of the children when he said this to them? قَالُوا His children said, تَاللَّهِ We swear by Allah. تَفْتَأُ أي لا تَفْتَأُ أو ما تَفْتَأُ You will never cease. You will never stop. أي لا تزول لا تزال تفتأ تذكر يوسف You will never cease to stop thinking about Yusuf. That's all you're ever going to do. حتى تكون Until you become حرضا Ever so close to death, that your mind and body completely gets destroyed. That's when you're going to stop thinking about Yusuf. أو تكون Or you become من الهالكين From those who actually passed away and die. قال What did he reply? إنما أشكو I only complain. بثي I only complain about my anguish. That's the translation we'll give it, but I'll explain what is beth. وحزني And my sorrow إلى الله to Allah. I only complain to Allah about my sorrow and my anguish. وأعلم And I know من الله From Allah ما لا تعلمون That which you do not know. So what happened next? Their father, he turns away, he starts to cry, and he cries and he cries and he cries ever so much, and he becomes sad, severe sorrow, until the extent his eyes become white, i.e. he becomes blind. Then the boys, they take the mick out of him. So when I say take the mick, not literally, but they belittle what he's going through. And they say, our father, are you only ever going to just think about Yusuf? Yusuf's going to make you go crazy. How long has gone? Ibn Kathir, he mentions the time that Yusuf alayhi salam left his father that day when the boys, they said to him, can we take Yusuf to play with us? Until later when they meet Yusuf in the parliament, and his parents and his family, they prostrate to him. He mentions that Abdullah ibn Abbas and Hassan al-Basri, they both transmit that it was 80 years between that. From now until they meet him is 7 years. So how long was he sad for? 73 years. And our father, Yusuf is going to make you go crazy. You're never going to stop thinking about him. The only solution is one of two. Either your body becomes ever so fatigued. Harad, the word harad means when someone becomes so sick and so crazy in terms of mentally, is basically when someone's mental and physical health is completely down. Harad is physically, his heart is messed, his kidneys, he becomes so physically out of place. And secondly, his mental health likewise is not there. أي ذهب عقله وجسمه. That's what harad is. So you're never going to stop thinking about Yusuf unless you reach that level of sickness where your mind goes and your body likewise becomes ever so sick. That's when you're going to stop thinking about him. And if you don't stop thinking about him, then the second time you're going to stop thinking about him is if you die. You become from those who are completely destroyed. What was his reply? He said, I only complain to Allah regarding my beth and huzn. What's the difference between beth and huzn? Beth is the severest sadness that someone could perhaps feel, that he physically can't keep it in. So the translation in Arabic would be, it's a sadness, it's a sorrow, but the hardship and sorrow this person is feeling, he physically can't keep it in. It can be seen on him, he speaks to people about it, people in the community know about it, it's zahir, yani it's out there. The huzn, however, it's sadness and sorrow that one feels, but it's one that is inside. It's the feeling. Do you see the difference or not? So sadness, one can feel it, but then it can be physically seen on him, because perhaps he tells people, or you can see it, his face, and he's not the same. And the second one is huzn, which is a deep feeling inside that no one ever actually knows of. Only Allah knows of. He's saying both the outward one that people know of and the one that is inside me that only Allah knows of, I only complain to Allah about it. Nobody else. And then he adds to it as well, and I know about Allah, O my young sons, O my sons, I know about Allah something you don't know. What is it that he didn't know? Ibn Kathir, that he knew that his children didn't know. Ibn Kathir, he mentions that he had such yaqeen in Allah and husnul dhan in Allah that he was 100% sure somewhere down the line his children will come back to him and they're going to be reunited. And I know that Allah is never going to let me down. But you people, you don't know this. The second tafsir of it is that he knew of what? The dream. He knew the dream right in the beginning. So he says, I just need to be patient. It's coming. Something's going to happen. But my children, you don't know the dream. Only I know it. So what did he say next? He commands them and says, Ya baniya, O my children, idhabu, go, fatahassasu min Yusuf, and diligently search for Yusuf, wa akhihi, and his brother Binyamin, wala tayasu, and do not despair, min rawhillahi, from the mercy of Allah. Innahu, because indeed the matter is as follows. La yayasu min rawhillahi, no one despairs from the mercy of Allah, illa al-qawmul kafiruna, except the disbelievers. Look at the yaqeen he had. He says to his children, oh my children, I'm not going to complain. I'm going to think good of Allah. I'll cry to Him. I'll make dua to Him. What you do is pack your bags, go to Egypt, because where did they come back to? They came to Palestine, Canaan, where their father was at. Go to Egypt and search for Yusuf very diligently. Fatahassasu means use every single hiss, every single sense that you have. Look for him by your nose, the smell. Fatahassasu means try to find him with your eyes, your ears, hear, listen on patiently. Diligently search for Yusuf and his brother. But he added one thing, and one of the benefits will come to later. He didn't just say go and look for Yusuf. He said go and look for Yusuf, but you have to have one condition. When you're looking for Yusuf and his brother, you have to have good thoughts of Allah. You have to have hope in Allah that we will find him and his brother. And you shouldn't despair from the mercy of Allah. If you go in half-hearted, what's going to happen? It won't happen. And you need to know, my children, that no one despairs from the mercy of Allah except the disbelievers. What it means by disbelievers is someone that has deficiency in his belief in Allah. Doesn't mean the Shar'i meaning, someone who completely disbelieves in Allah. Because the disbelievers, aslan, they have no hope when it comes to Allah anyway. But it's the linguistic meaning here, which is someone who has a deficiency in their iman, they're going to despair in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا, and when they entered alayhi, upon Yusuf. So they went to Yusuf, they found him. They knew where he was. قالوا, they said, يَا أَيُّهَا الْعَزِيزُ, O chief minister, مَسَّنَا وَأَهْلَنَا الضُّرُّ. Did they know quickly? They don't know this is Yusuf still, by the way. They've just gone back to who? The chief minister, nothing else. But this time, when they go back, they're not necessarily going back to... How many times have they gone back so far? Twice. So this is the third journey they're making. This third journey is not to get what? Supplies of food. That's not what they've been commanded to do. Their father commanded them to do what? go and search for Yusuf and his brother. But for them, it's a matter of, we're already in Egypt, let's just make the most of it. Until now, they don't know Yusuf is this man at all. So what happened? فَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَيْهِ, when they entered upon Yusuf. Allah is saying when they entered upon Yusuf, but they don't know it's Yusuf. They just know it as the chief minister. قالوا, they said, يَا أَيُّهَا الْعَزِيزُ, O chief minister, مَسَّنَا وَأَهْلَنَا ضُرٌّ. Hardship, evil has afflicted us and our family. وَجِئْنَا, and we have come to you, O chief minister, بِبِضَاعَةٍ, with coins, مُزْجَاتٍ, that are worthless. فَأَوْفِ لَنَا الْكَيْلِ, so give us a full supply of grains. وَتَصَدَّقَ عَلَيْنَا, and give us an extra charitable amount. إِنَّ اللَّهَ, indeed Allah, يَجَزِي, He rewards al-mutasaddiqeen, those who are charitable. Now pay attention to this part, guys. They have run out of money. They went back twice. They've got their supplies. They've run out. They go back with some coins. Abdullah ibn Abbas, he mentions they didn't have money, they just went with like a rope and some things that they can just give. When they went back to the chief minister, they thought, why not get some more? So they go and say, we have been afflicted with harm. The harm that Allah is speaking about is two. The first one is the drought that everyone knows about. We don't have no food, we don't have any drink, we don't have anything to have. Our supplies have finished. The second one is that our brother has been missing for X amount of time, and likewise our younger brother is a slave. He's a slave, he's stolen. These are the things that are the dur. We have been afflicted with harm. So what did they do? They said, all we have are worthless coins. Zaja, muzjat, means, something, if you're given it and it's so worthless, you give it to someone else. It means you pass it on. Zaja, it means to shove someone like this. It's like you push someone away. Zaja. Something which is muzjat means it's so worthless, you just take it. I don't want it. So they came to the chief minister, who's Yusuf, with worthless coins because they don't have anything else. What did they ask him? They said, number one, give us a new supply of grains. And number two, be nice to us and give us an extra amount. They basically begged. They started to beg for more. They said, don't just give us our normal full amount. وَتَصَدَّقْ عَلَيْنَا, and give us a bit more. Add something extra for us. Be nice to us. Why did they say that? They knew that their money is running out. There won't be other trips they're going to make. They knew that they actually don't have any more wealth. So just give us extra. Give us more. Give us more. And their reason for that was, indeed Allah, He rewards those who are charitable and give sadaqah. Yusuf alayhi salam is there. This is Yusuf, by the way, the chief minister. What was his reply? Did he give it to them? What did he say? قال, he said, هل علمتم, do you know, ما فعلتم بيوسف, do you know what you people done to Yusuf? Who's speaking? Yusuf himself, but they don't know this. وأخيه, and also do you know what you done to his brother? إذ أنتم جاهلون, when you were ignorant young boys. قالوا, they replied and said, أئنك, are you, لأنت, you, Yusuf, are you Yusuf? قال, he said, أنا Yusuf, I am Yusuf. وهذا أخي, and this is my brother. قد من الله علينا, Allah indeed has been gracious to us. إنه, because indeed the matter is as follows. من whomsoever يتقي, fears their Lord, ويصبر, and is patient, فإن الله, indeed Allah, لا يضيع, He does not forsake, أجر المحسنين, the reward of those who good. So now Yusuf finally reveals himself. Ibn Kathir, he mentions something and says, here there is a hint to us that Yusuf alayhi salam, from the moment he left his father all the way until later on, now when he reveals himself, it was as if he was going and he was being controlled by Allah. It's like he had angels that were controlling him throughout the whole time. Why? How many opportunities did he have to reveal himself? Many. So many times. They made so many trips. Now he finally reveals himself. It was as if he was being controlled and steered and looked after by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what happened? He asked them. He says, do you guys know a young boy called Yusuf that you done something to? The moment that he asked that, they by default said, damn it, how would he know? So they wanted confirmation. They said, are you Yusuf? Is it you? And the reason they asked that was because now he's wearing a crown, as we said. He's got his throne, the parliament, he's a minister, he's chief, he's got authority, wealth, you name it. It's a shock. The young boy that we put in a well, and then later on he got sold as a slave, and then later on X, Y, and Z happened, and we never saw him for all of this time. It can't be him. So he then tells them, I am Yusuf. And yes, this is my brother Binyamin. And then he explains to them and says, that time when one of you guys stole, I purposely put it in his, and Allah was gracious to us. He was kind to us. How was he kind to us? He reunited me and my brother. One of the benefits we'll come to later is, look how Yusuf alayhi salam, he by default, he relates the blessing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. And the reason is very vital. He says the reason why our Lord was gracious to us and kind to us and He reunited us was because we had two characteristics, nothing else. The principle is, O people, He said, whomsoever fears their Lord, he's conscious about Allah. And number two is patient. Allah will never, ever, ever forsake the reward of the patient, or those who do good. Never. It will come late. Maybe 80 years, maybe 40 years, maybe 70 years. But someone who has these two characteristics is guaranteed to happen. قال الله تعالى, Allah said, قالوا, they replied to him and said, Tallahi, we swear by Allah, لَقَدْ آثَرَكَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا, indeed Allah has preferred you over us. وَإِن كُنَّا, and indeed the matter is, كُنَّا, we were, لَخَاطِئِينَ, وَاللَّهِ, we were the ones who were wrong all along. They admitted their mistake. They weren't arrogant. They didn't think to themselves, we're not going to admit our fault. They said, Wallahi, you're right. You were patient and you feared your Lord. Therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He was gracious and kindful to you. You're correct. We accept it. And the matter is, we were all along at fault. What was Yusuf's reply? Brothers, I want you to pay attention to this, please. You can imagine what Yusuf went through in his life. Thrown down a well, accused of zina which he didn't commit, spent 7, 8 years in prison. He came out later, and you can imagine the hardship, sorrow, difficulty. No one on the face of this earth today went through what Yusuf went through. It's been approximately 73 years of his life. How much grudge should he have over his brothers? How much hate should he have towards his brothers? Shouldn't he feel as though this is my opportunity? They've come to me and I've revealed, I am Yusuf, the one you done X, Y, and Z to. They said, Wallahi, we were wrong, you're right. But look his reply. قال الله تعالى, Allah said, قال Yusuf said, لا تثريب, there's no blame. عليكم, upon you, اليوم, today. Don't worry, there's no blame upon you. What happened in the past, happened in the past. يغفر الله لكم, Allah will forgive you. وهو, and He, Allah, is أرحم الراحمين, He's the most merciful of all of those who show mercy. That was his reply. He didn't fault them. He didn't make them feel guilty. He didn't make them feel sad. He said, relax. What happened in the past, happened in the past. You have admitted your fault. Allah will forgive you, inshallah. Now the story goes as follows, inshallah. I'll read a few verses and then go through it. اذهبوا, Yusuf said, go بقميصي, go to our father Yaqub with my shirt. هذا, this shirt of mine. فألقوه, and throw it على وجه أبي, and throw it on the face of my father. يأتي بصيرا, he will suddenly become one who sees. وأتوني, and come to me, بأهلكم, with your family, أجمعين, every single one of you. That was his solution. He knows his father. How he knows, Allah knows best. Some tafasir, they mentioned that the brothers told him and this, but there's no evidence for it. Maybe news went around that Yaqub, who's a prophet by the way, he's a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's become blind. His son Yusuf has been missing for X amount of years. News went around. So he said, forget what happened, guys. I forgive you. Allah is going to forgive you as well. He's merciful. Let's sort things out. But take this shirt of mine, go to our father, he said, my father, go to my father in Canaan, Sham, and when you take this shirt, cast it or throw it on his face. He's going to suddenly be able to see again. How did that happen? Was it the shirt that had the power? No. Yusuf alayhi salam, it was revealed to him through revelation. Allah inspired him to do this. Take your shirt, and this is by the way called something in balagha or adab, is called al-hamkatul qasasiyya or al-hamkatul fanniyya. Is basically it's a beautiful way in which a story is told where there is like an antagonist. There's like a main, not really main, but there's like a, I don't know what it's called in English. Basically what it is I'll explain it inshallah. I don't know the name of it in English. But do you guys not know that this shirt of Yusuf has been playing a part in the entire story? What was the first time? When he was thrown into a well. The shirt, right? Take the shirt, go to his father, they put the blood on there, and then he said, say our father, he's been bitten, etc. It was the shirt of Yusuf. The second time was the shirt of Yusuf when? When the wife of the minister chased him, pulled him, the shirt was used again. The third one was what? Now, there's a reason for this. There's a reason. There's a special meaning behind this shirt. There's a message that Allah wants to give to us. And Ibn Kathir and other Mufassirun, they mention it. And it's one of the most baligh, eloquent ways to tell a story. This is why the Quran is a mu'jiz. It's a miracle. Kuffar of Quraysh, they would hear this and they would understand what Allah is getting to. They would understand this thawb and why is Allah, this shirt, why is Allah mentioning it, etc. But we'll come on to inshallah the benefits we take later on. So Yusuf alayhi salam, he says, take this shirt of mine, throw it on the face of my father, he's going to become one who sees. And then he said, come to me with every single member of your family. Who's the member of his family? The mum, the dad, and who else? Binyamin and the 10 brothers. Every single one of them, bring them here. Binyamin is already with him. The other one is with him, the older one. So who's remaining? The 9 plus the mum and dad. بِأَهْلِكُمْ, come with every single one of your family members. He wants to do something which we'll see inshaAllah ta'ala. قال الله تعالى, Allah said, وَلَمَّا فَصَلَتِ الْعِيرُ, and when the caravan departed. So these boys, they got on the caravan and they started making their ways. قَالَ أَبُوهُمْ, their father said, إِنِّي, indeed I, لَأَجِدُ وَاللَّهِ, I can find, or I can sense, رِيحَ يُوسُف, the smell of Yusuf. لَوْلَا أَن تُفَنِّدُونِي, لَوْلَا, you may think, أَن تُفَنِّدُونِي, that you may think I am senile. You may think that I'm going crazy because of old age. And nafad, in the Arabic language, means when someone becomes ever so old and the effects of the old age is seen in him. Wrinkles, his brain, dementia, he might start thinking things, and he's not 100% now. The father, basically what happened is, the moment they started to make their journey, where are they? Egypt. The moment they started to make their journey, they haven't gone yet. They just started to depart. Suddenly, Yusuf's father, Yaqub, he says, I can smell Yusuf. Abdullah ibn Abbas, As-Suddi, Ikrimah, Qatadah ibn Da'amat As-Sadusi, all of those who are the Mufassirin from the Tabi'een and Sahabatu Rasulillah, they said the distance between when they started to go, when they started to make their way, from where Yaqub was the distance of 8 nights of traveling. And he could smell it. Ibn Kathir, he says, that Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he mentions, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gathered all of the wind of the earth, and then He got the scent of Yusuf alayhi salam on his shirt, and then He moved it all the way to Canaan, Palestine, and then He smelt his scent. Yaqub, he tells his children when they arrive and says, I can smell him, but you people are probably going to think I'm going crazy. Why? Because Yusuf's on the other side of the world. He's all the way in Egypt. How can you smell him? So what did they say to him? Qalu, they said, Tallahi, we swear by Allah, innaka, you, O our father, lafi, you're wallahi without a doubt, in dalalika al-qadim, you're in your old craziness. Here the dalal does not mean misguidance. It means you're in your crazy state of before. What was his crazy state of before? His crazy state of before was, you're always thinking about Yusuf. You're always thinking about where is he? When we came to you and told you that he stole you, your eyes you started to cry so much. And 24/7, now you're saying you can smell him. You're going mental. You become someone old. You're not there 100%. إِنَّكَ لَفِي ضَلَالِكَ الْقَدِيمِ. They are prophets now. They are Muslims who are righteous now. Therefore, when we say لَفِي ضَلَالِكَ الْقَدِيمِ, they know their father's a prophet as well, and they never ever disputed that. Therefore, the dalal here doesn't mean you're misguided. Linguistically, they mean dalal. The reason I'm not going over and over again, by the way, as usual, is because we have a lot to do today, so I'm going to go over it like this, inshallah. So what happened next? They are on their way to Palestine. As they are on their way there, he says, I can smell Yusuf alayhi salam. Are they with him yet? No. Who did he say that to? That's a good question. The people around him. The people that were around him, that were in the village, his neighbors. He said, guys, I can smell Yusuf. He's been away for so long, but I can smell him now. Now his children come back to him. فَلَمَّا and when أَنْ جَاءَ الْبَشِيرُ. Anytime فَلَمَّا comes and the word an comes after it in the Quran, the an is za'idah. So it's actually فَلَمَّا جَاءَ الْبَشِيرُ. فَلَمَّا and when أَنْ جَاءَ الْبَشِيرُ, when the bearer of good news came. Who's the bearer of good news? The one that was told, take the shirt and put it on the face of my father. When he came, أَلْقَاهُ عَلَى وَجْهِهِ, he threw it on the face of Yaqub. فَارْتَدَّ بَصِيرًا, and he suddenly came back to his sight. He suddenly came back to when he could see. The fa is called fa ta'qib. It means suddenly, straight away, without a moment. As soon as they threw on him, he could suddenly see again. What did the father say? قال, his father said, أَلَمْ أَقُلْ لَكُمْ, did I not say to you, O my children, إِنِّي أَعْلَمُ, I know about Allah, min Allah, about Allah, مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Did I not tell you I know about Allah that which you do not know? Look at his yaqeen. Look again how he wants to give tarbiyah, and the way he's nurturing his children. The aqeedah he's storing in their hearts. قالوا, then his children said, Ya abana, O our father, istaghfir lana, seek repentance for us, seek forgiveness for us, dhunubana, for our sins, inna kunna, indeed we are khati'ina, those who are wrong. قال, the father said, Sawfa astaghfiru lakum rabbi, I will seek forgiveness for you from my Lord. Innahu, indeed he, huwa, he is, al-ghafuru, the one who is most forgiving, ar-rahimu, the merciful. So they have a little dialogue. The father, he can see now, and he realizes that the good news is coming of them all being reunited, and he knows the dream that's gonna take, and the dream that's gonna come true, and he's anticipating all of these things. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the giver of glad tidings, who was one of the boys who had the shirt, he put it on his face, he suddenly can see. Why is it that he's saying, I knew about Allah that which you didn't know? When he starts to see, what news is that for him? Likewise, this shirt, he realizes what shirt it is. And this good news, he knows it without a doubt straight away. The reason why he's so optimistic, and the reason why he's happy he can now see, and the reason why this shirt is such a big thing for him, is it confirms that the shirt is the shirt of Yusuf. And it confirms that the good news of them being reunited is going to take place. Because he has this dream in his mind, and he had the yaqeen and the certainty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not let him down. That is the moment the boys, they admit their mistake. They say, oh, our father, we made a mistake. We were wrong. We were the ones that were wrongdoers all of this time. Do us a favor. Seek forgiveness for us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The father, what could he do here as well? Is there not the opportunity? You done this to me once, and you done this to my son, and then my other son Binyamin, you took him away from me. Is this not the moment for him to be like, I don't care about you guys, go away? And then he makes his way to Yusuf. He says, don't worry, I'm going to seek forgiveness for you from Allah, and Allah will forgive you inshaAllah, for indeed He is all merciful and all forgiving. Now what happened is, which is not in this part of the surah of course, the children, the boys, they tell their father what happened. We went to Yusuf, we told him we're going through difficulties. So we went to the chief minister, we told him we're going through difficulties, so give us some extra sadaqah and also give us a full amount of grains. Then he suddenly said, do you know what we done to Yusuf? And then we said, oh, are you Yusuf? And he told us it was him. We found him. Then he told us to take the shirt, we put it on you, and he became, etc. But what did he tell them to do? What did Chief Minister Yusuf tell him to do? Go and do this, throw the shirt on his face, but do what else? وَأْتُونِي بِأَهْلِكُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ. Bring your entire family to me. So they tell the father Yaqub and says, Yusuf, who's the chief minister now, he's got this role, this position, he rules Egypt. He told us all to pack our bags and make hijrah. Pack our bags and come to him in Egypt. So that's what they done. What happened? فَلَمَّا دَخَلُوا عَلَى Yusuf. They packed their bags and they go. When they entered upon Yusuf, آوَى إِلَيْهِ أَبَوَيْهِ. Yusuf received his parents. وَقَالَ, and he said, أُدْخُلُوا أَنْتَ مِصْرَ, Egypt. Insha'Allah, if Allah wills, آمِنِينَ, safe. Now there's two tafsirs of this. Where did we suddenly go from? They started to pack their bags, and then when they entered Egypt, Yusuf, he received his parents. This receiving of his parents and welcoming them, and then for him to say, enter Egypt, were they already in, were they not? There's two tafsirs. The first tafsir is, Yusuf alayhi salam went to the borders to receive them. Once he went to the borders of Egypt to receive them, then he said to his family, not just his parents, he took his parents first, he received them, then he said to the entire family, Udkhulu enter Misra, Egypt, insha'Allah aminin. And welcome, enter. The second tafsir is, no, they already entered Egypt. Then Yusuf, what did he do? He received his parents to his house. This is the better tafsir. His parliament, the state of parliament, where he has his throne and everything else. He has his villa, his house. He received his parents there. When he received them there, he said, Udkhulu Misra insha'Allah aminin. Udkhulu here does not mean udkhulu, it means uskunu. It means live in Egypt in peace with Allah's will. What did he do next? وَرَفَعَ أَبَوَيْهِ. He raised his two parents, his mum and dad, عَلَى الْعَرْشِ, on the throne. Arsh doesn't mean the throne, the throne we know of. Back in the days it was the seat. It was the chair, the kursi of the king. That's where it is, but it's raised. It's up there, took his parents. وَرَفَعَ أَبَوَيْهِ. He raised his two parents, عَلَى الْعَرْشِ, on the throne. وَخَرُّوا. And then they fell down, every single one of them. How many of them? The two parents and 11 of the boys. وَخَرُّوا لَهُ. They fell down for him, سُجَّدًا, in prostration. وَقَالَ. Then Yusuf said, Ya abati, he said to his dad, Ya abati, oh my father, هذا this sujood that you're all doing is تَأْوِيلُ رُؤْيَايَ, is the interpretation of my dream that you made. مِن قَبْلُ, before. قَدْ جَعَلَهَا رَبِّي, my Lord has made it, the dream, حَقًّا, a reality. وَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ بِي. I want to stop there. It's the first time I'm translating a verse half, because they're two separate things. I want us to ponder upon what happens here. Yusuf alayhi salam, finally, the reality of his dream that he had 80 years ago, as mentioned by Hassan al-Basri, he finally comes to see it. all of the hardships, the difficulties, and he comes to realize, why, oh my father, you told me to not tell my brothers. I never knew I was going to become a king. I never knew you guys are going to, I never knew I would have all of this. This is the interpretation that finally became true. Yusuf alayhi salam does something incredibly profound. Incredibly profound. I won't go too in details because it's going to be part of the lessons we take. But look what he says. وَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ بِي, and my Lord was good to me, إِذْ أَخْرَجَنِي مِنَ السِّجْنِ, when he took me out of prison. وَجَاءَ بِكُمْ, and he brought you, my family, مِنَ الْبَدْوِ, from the desert, from Palestine. He brought my family to me. We're all reunited. And he was also good to me when مِن بَعْدِ أَن نَزَغَ الشَّيْطَانُ, when the shaitan, he ignited rivalry بَيْنِي, between me, وَبَيْنَ إِخْوَتِي, and my brothers. All of those 3 times my Lord was good to me. Inna Rabbi, indeed my Lord, is latifun, subtle. هذا اسم عجيب. My Lord is subtle. Lima yasha'u, in fulfilling whatever he wishes. Innahu, indeed he is, because huwa, he is. Al-alimu, al-alim, al-hakim. Al-alimu, all knowing, al-hakim, all wise. Look at what he does. Everything that happened to him, he said, my Lord, look how amazing he was to me. He looked after me. He made the dream become true. When my brothers, they done X, Y, and Z to me, he helped me from them. He took me out of prison. He brought my family back to me. What a lovely Lord I have. And he said, indeed, my Lord is subtle. Why did he use the word latif? Out of every name he could have used. My Lord is subtle in everything that he does when he's fulfilling it. The reason why he said that is, it completely goes out of the mind of Yusuf. It's not something that could perhaps come to his mind, that the hard days in the well, the hard years living with the minister, being accused of zina as a slave, the hard, long, difficult years of being in prison, and then even when he comes back and comes out and becomes a minister, yes, he's living a good life, but what's the negative part of his life? He's not with his family. All of those hardships. Little did Yusuf alayhi salam know that this was Allah's plan all along. Latif. Allah is subtle. He doesn't allow you necessarily to see everything. He works in ways that are very subtle. The benefit, inshallah, will go a bit deeper into that name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Remember at the end as well, إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْحَكِيمُ الْعَلِيمُ. Remember, إِنَّهُ هُوَ الْحَكِيمُ الْعَلِيمُ. Did you guys know the beginning? In fact, let me come on to that because that's the benefits. What did he say after that? Rabbi, oh my Lord, قَدْ آتَيْتَنِي, you have given me مِنَ الْمُلْكِ, from the kingdom. You've given me kingship. وَعَلَّمْتَنِي, and you have taught me مِن تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ, from the interpretation of dreams. فَاطِرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ, oh the Fatir, Ya فَاطِرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ. The word Ya is deleted there. Ya فَاطِرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ, oh the originator of the heavens, وَالْأَرْضِ, and the earth. Ya فَاطِرَ السَّمَاوَاتِ, oh the originator of the heavens, وَالْأَرْضِ, and the originator of the earth. أَنْتَ وَلِيِّ, you are my protector في الدنيا, on the earth, وَالْآخِرَةِ, and you're my protector in the hereafter. توفني, take my life and cause me to die musliman, as a Muslim. وألحقني, and join me with بالصالحين, join me with those who are righteous. Yusuf alayhi salam, he remembers the blessings of his Lord. And he says, oh my Lord, you gave me kingship, number one. You made me a king, you made me a minister, you made me a chief, you gave me authority on this earth. Likewise, you taught me from the interpretations of dreams. At that time, the interpretation of dreams, guys, was something big. I forgot to mention last week, why was it such a big thing that Yusuf alayhi salam could interpret dreams? At the times of hardship and drought and difficulty of a city, of a country, because the time is so tough. Imagine there's a drought going on in the UK, which is going to be 7 years, no rain, no nothing. Everyone's having dreams. Therefore, everyone's going to start thinking about what could this dream mean, what could that dream mean, etc. Generally, when someone's going through a hardship and then they have dreams, they start to do what? They make links. So there were so many people who would start to interpret every single dream that they have. What did the Malik say? وَقَالَ الْمَلِكُ ائْتُونِي. La. What did the Malik say, the king, when he said, When they replied, قَالُوا أَضْغَاثُ أَحْلَامٍ. Remember when the king, he said, وقال الملك إني أرى 7 بقرات سمان يأكلهن 7 عجاف و7 سنبلات خضر وأخرى متشابهات يا أيها الملأ أفتوني. Oh, you who interpret dreams, أفتوني, interpret my dream. And it was a thing. People would take positions and jobs, and it was something big at that time. So Yusuf alayhi salam is saying, you also allowed me to interpret dreams and you gave me that blessing. Likewise, O my Lord, you are the one who is my protector. You protected me from my brothers. You didn't cause me to die. You protected me by bringing me out of prison. Likewise, you are a protector for me in this world. Anyone who tries to bring harm to me, you protected in my entire life from them. Likewise, you're my protector in the hereafter, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You protect me from the hellfire. I ask you for one more thing. You've given me all of these blessings. I ask you for one thing, which is the most important thing. When I die, make sure you take my life as a Muslim. And likewise, O my Lord, allow me to join as-salihina, the righteous ones from before. Who are the righteous ones from before? His forefathers, Ishaq and Ibrahim and these people. Ibn Kathir, he mentions that this was the first dua any prophet made for death. Is it allowed for us to make a side benefit? There's a hukum we can take from this. The only prophet who ever made dua for death, who was the first one, was him. Let me reword. The only prophet who made a dua, or righteous person that made a dua for death, and the first person was him, a death because of something that was dunya related. What I mean by that is, the Sharia, when it came, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it prohibited one to yearn for death or make dua for death. There's many ahadith. Mu'adh ibn Jabal narrates that Sa'ad ibn Waqas one day came to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and there was a large gathering taking place. Large gathering. And Sa'ad, he says, we all cried and we cried and we cried and we cried from what the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was telling us about the hereafter, what's going to happen, and X, Y, and Z. So he made a dua. He said, Ya Allah, cause me to die. I don't want to be here. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he took Sa'ad ibn Waqas to the corner. He said to him, are you calling for death whilst I am here? And are you asking for death when you know it's something wrong to do so? Then the Prophet ﷺ, he said, this is not allowed, don't do it. It's haram. But the question is going to be, Maryam alayhi salam, did she not ask for death when the people were accusing her of zina? What did she say? Ya laytani mittu qabala hadha wa kuntu nasyan mansiya. She said, I wish. We know the story of Maryam alayhi salam. She didn't have a husband, right? And then she became pregnant. News went around that she's committed zina. She doesn't have a husband. How is this baby here? So what did she do? She made hijrah. She left the whole city. And then she's there under this tree. She doesn't have food. She doesn't have drink. She doesn't have anything. And Allah commanded her to shake the tree, and then dates came out, and then she could feed. But what was the point here though? Because of the news that was going around so much, she's a zaniya, she made a dua which was, Ya laytani, oh I wish, mittu, that I died. Qabla hadha, before this, I wish I died before these accusations. Wa kuntu nasyan mansiya, and I'm something that's completely forgotten. No one remembers me ever. What's the reply to that? The ulama, they combined between the prohibition of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam telling us it's haram for one to make dua for death, and Maryam alayhi salam, because if it was something bad, she wouldn't necessarily do it. They combined. They said, anything dunya related, hardships, difficulties, sorrows, calamities, you're not allowed to ask for death. But something which is related to your deen, your Islam, your religion, is allowed. Ali radiallahu anhu used to as well. They make dua, wallah, if I'm not going to die as a Muslim, take my life now. La ba'sa bidhalik. So when it's connected to your deen, your religion, and being steadfast, etc., you're allowed to call for death. Here, which dua is he making? Is he saying, oh Allah, kill me now? La. Tawaffani, take my life. He didn't say amitni. He didn't say kill me. He said, Tawaffani, take my life, Musliman hal. Generally, whenever you see a hal, Musliman, which is mansoob, it normally is a qaid, it restricts what the person means. If you didn't understand that, don't worry. But what Yusuf is saying is, Tawaffani Musliman, whenever you're going to take my life, you're going to take my life anyway, but whenever that is, take my life as a Muslim. The story concludes there. The story is done, finished. Yusuf is reunited with his parents, his brothers. He's now the king. He's now the minister, the chief minister. He's ruling Egypt. He's controlling everything. He tells his family, you're going to live with me. They're all reunited happily ever after. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to tell us a few things towards the end. This has nothing to do with the surah necessarily. To be honest, the beginning bits do, but the majority don't. So let's whiz through that and then take the benefits, inshaAllah ta'ala. Allah said, ذَلِكَ that, i.e. this story that I just told you, O Muhammad, min أَنْبَاءِ الْغَيْبِ, it's from the news of the unseen. نُوحِيهِ إِلَيْكَ, we are revealing it to you. You have no knowledge of it before we told you it. وَمَا كُنْتَ لَدَيْهِمْ, you were not with them. إِذْ أَجْمَعُوا, you Muhammad, this is to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, were not, say sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. When you hear the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's name, say sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you were not there. إِذْ أَجْمَعُوا أَمْرَهُمْ, when the brothers of Yusuf, were coming to a consensus and plotting and planning. You wasn't there. This was a long time ago. وَهُمْ يَمْكُرُونَ, whilst they were plotting and planning. وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ, and the majority of the people, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ, if you were to strive and work so hard, بِمُؤْمِنِينَ, they won't believe. The majority of the people, they're not going to believe you. Even if you strive and beg them and give them every single sign, the majority of the people, they're not going to believe. وَمَا تَسْأَلُهُمْ, whilst you do not even ask them, عَلَيْهِ أي على تبليغ الرسالة, you don't ask them when you're giving them da'wah and you're passing on the message from Allah, you don't ask them min ajr, you don't ask them for any wealth, any money. This is the qa'idah of the Rusul. No messenger ever came to his people and said, I'm going to charge you this much, I have a message from God. Abadan. Allah is saying, even though you're not asking them for wealth, they still won't believe you. In huwa ay ma huwa, this, the Quran, is not illa except dhikrun, a reminder lil alamina, for the people. That verse had a sabab nuzul, this specific verse, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ, the majority of the people are not going to believe you. The reason for it is, some of the people of the Yahud that were living amongst them, the Bani Israel, not the Yahud, that did not submit to Islam yet, they came to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they said to him, if you're really a believer, if you're really a prophet of Allah, the Yahud of the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who knew the book that came before the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which was what? The Torah and the Injil, the book of Musa and Isa. Those that knew it, they came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They said, look, we see you have a similar message you're claiming. This was before Surah Yusuf came down. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they said to Yusuf, to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if you want us to believe you as a messenger, tell us about the story of the man called Yusuf. Tell us about Joseph. We know him in the Torah, the Injil. It's in there as well. The story of Joseph, they call him Joseph. Yusuf is in the Bible that we have today. So they said, tell us about his story. What do you know about him? That's why Allah, He sent down Surah Yusuf, and then He recited Surah Yusuf upon them. And then what did they say? They said, no. This guy, you are a magician. You've got some jinns working with you. We don't believe you. Sorry. The Prophet ﷺ became sad. That's why Allah sent down these verses saying, وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَلَوْ حَرَصْتَ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ وَمَا تَسْأَلُهُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ أَجْرٍ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. So here these verses, the story finishes there. The story is done. But once the Messenger ﷺ narrated the whole surah that we just finished now, up to that part, he narrated it to them. They said, La, we don't want to accept. That's when this part came down. So it's separate to the story. This came down in two separate ways. So Allah is now going to do what? He's going to give the Prophet ﷺ what's called tasliyah. Tasliyatul Rasul. Tasliyatul Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's giving him comfort. He's giving him something to hold on to say, don't worry. What does he say? وَكَأَيٍّ, and how many? So many are there. Min ayatin, signs, so many signs are there. فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ, in the heavens, وَالْأَرْضِ, in the earth. يَمُرُّونَ عَلَيْهَا, they walk past it. وَهُمْ عَنْهَا مُعْرِضُونَ, they just turn away. They see the sky, the moon, they see the stars, they see the earth, how it's been created, the mountains, they see themselves as humans. How many ayat, i.e. signs that we have shown them, they've just turned them away. So for them to not accept this story you're telling them, that it's the same as the book of the past, then don't worry, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Don't worry about this. They're not going to believe in the majority of the ayat that you give them. But then Allah says what? وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم, the majority of them will not believe. Amongst those who believe, billahi, believe in Allah, illa wahum mushrikun. What a scary verse. Allahu Akbar. Brothers, listen to this. Allah said, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم, the majority of them are not going to believe. Billahi, in Allah, illa wahum mushrikuna, except that they will still commit some form of shirk. I want us to ponder from two angles on this verse. What it's talking about is kuffar of Quraysh that are with you now, that have disbelieved in the fact that you've told them this story, and they still say, no, we don't believe you. There will be a small portion of them that believe you. The majority won't believe you. Even that small portion that believe in Allah, billah, that believe in Allah, they're still going to commit shirk. There's two ways. And by the way, there's a qa'idah in tafsir, you learn in usul al-tafsir. Anytime Allah is speaking about kuffar of Quraysh, or even he's speaking to the Prophet ﷺ, is he only addressing them? La. The qa'idah is, إِيَّاكَ أَعْنِي وَاسْمَعْ يَا جَارَ. Always have that. When Allah is sending on verses, إِيَّاكَ أَعْنِي, I'm speaking to you, Muhammad ﷺ. Yes. وَاسْمَعْ يَا جَارَ, and oh you who is next to him, oh you who is his neighbor, listen as well. Who's that? Me and you. The first benefit is from that verse, or shall I say the first thing I wanted to ponder upon is, what he's talking about is, the kuffar of Quraysh, they're going to believe in Allah, yes, but they're still going to commit shirk by worshipping other than Allah. That's the first tafsir. The second tafsir, in which Ibn Kathir, Ibn Jarir al-Tabari, and Imam al-Qurtubi bring, is the one that relates to us, is those who believe you and come later, the Muslims, me and you, the majority are not going to believe, except they're still going to be committing shirk. How? Shirkul khafi, showing off, doing worship for Allah, but also giving it to others. I want to do it because so and so can see me. Likewise, what other ways of committing shirk are there for us? Loving, who should we love the most? Allah. The believers, they love Allah. Ashaddu hubban lillah, Allah said. When someone loves someone else more than Allah, this is a shirk. Yes. Someone doesn't pray the salah perhaps because of their mother or their father or their wife, or someone perhaps doesn't, and this is a shirk. This is the sad reality. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not make us from them. But the majority of the people, they are not going to give Allah His full right of ibadah. Their heart is going to be attached to others. They're going to do things for others. They're going to be always thinking more about others compared to Allah. They're going to have ghayrah over their wives more than Allah and His religion. Subhanallah. This is a form of shirk. Does it mean they're doing it on purpose? No, it's not. But this is a form of shirk. They're going to love football teams more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're going to love idols like footballers and these people more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brothers, the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said to his companions, he said, Wallahi, I fear for you shirk. The best of people that walk the face of this earth. They said, what shirk? We worship Allah. What shirk are you on about? He said, I don't fear for you to become poor. I don't fear poverty. I don't fear lack of wealth. He said, I fear for you shirk. This is the companions of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. What was the reason? He said, I fear for you a shirkul khafi, the hidden one. The hidden shirk is the one you don't even realize you're doing. You don't realize you are doing it. I don't realize I'm doing it. This is the one that is feared. This ayah is very, 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 very scary. And one must make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect him from it. Why is it that we are all sitting here today? By default, it's Allah, right? Is there a tiny percentage for anyone else? Everyone asks themselves that. Is it because you're just going and your friend went? Is it because you want to perhaps come across like you're righteous? Even if it's not on purpose. Brothers, I want this message to shoot home. I'm not saying you're doing it, but I'm saying you might be doing it, but perhaps subconsciously, you don't even know you're doing it. Nasalullah as-salamata wal-afiyah. The people that we love, we should love them. Allah commanded us to love them. The things, the hobbies we have, we should love our hobbies. If you support a football team, la bas. If you watch football, la bas. If you play tennis, la bas. If you have specific idols on it, no problem. But Allah, that they come before Allah. And this is not just through actions, but it's a matter of the heart. Where is your heart inclined to? Who is your heart connected to? Who do you think about the most? Who do you worry for the most? Who do you consciously have on your mind? If it's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we all come under this verse in that case. وَمَا أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. قال الله تعالى, Allah, he then said, again, this is all towards the end of the surah. It's a comforting to the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. أَفَأَمِنُوا, have they become safe and secure? These disbelievers, do they feel safe? أَن تَأْتِيَهُمْ غَاشِيَةٌ, that a enveloping min عَذَابِ اللَّهِ, a punishment from Allah which envelopes them completely, will come to them? Do they feel safe that Allah won't punish them on this earth? أَوْ تَأْتِيَهُمُ السَّاعَةُ, or do they feel secure that the punishment will come to them from Allah? That the hour will come to them بَغْتَةً, suddenly. وَهُمْ لَا يَشْعُرُونَ, and they don't even realize. Do they feel safe? Brothers, do we feel safe from this or not? Do we feel safe that Allah will punish us for our sins? The answer is no, we shouldn't be safe. Do we feel safe and secure that the hour won't come next week? La, we shouldn't feel safe. Then the Messenger then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُل, say to them. Say to who? Say to who? All of this is tasliyah, it's comforting the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. These verses came down, why? Because they asked, tell us about the story of Joseph, Yusuf. He told them, then he became sad, they're not even listening to me. قُل, say to them, هذه سبيلي, this is my way, this is my path. The knowledge and actions, tawheed. هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله, I'm only calling to Allah. على بصيرة, upon knowledge. I'm not calling to Allah because I'm a sahir or a magician or I'm making things up. This is upon pure knowledge. أنا ومن اتبعني, I'm calling to it. ومن اتبعني, and whomsoever follows me is also going to call to it. وسبحان الله, and glory belongs to Allah. وما أنا من المشركين, I am not from those who commit shirk. وما أرسلناك, and we have not, وما أرسلنا, we have not sent. Say this to them as well. وما أرسلنا, we have not sent. من قبلك, before you, O Muhammad, إلا رجالا, except men. We've only ever sent men to the people that came before you, as well as messengers. نوحي إليهم, we revealed to them, so they become messengers. من أهل القرى, and they are always from the people of the city. أفلم يسيروا, do these people not travel في الأرض, upon the earth, فينظروا, and see كيف كان عاقبة الذين من قبلهم, do they not see how the people of the past, how their final abode, their final result was? Ad, Thamud, all of these people, do they not know where their final abode was? Fir'aun likewise. Na'am. وَلَدَارُ الْآخِرَةِ, and indeed the life of the hereafter is خَيْرٌ, better. لِلَّذِينَ اتَّقَوْا, for those who are God conscious. أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, do you not have insight and a brain? Do you not have intellect? Allah is telling the Messenger here, don't worry, it's not just you that this happened to. There's messengers that came before you. They were also denied. And we sent people that came before you. You're not the only person. And they know likewise the messengers we sent, they are males. And likewise they are always from the city. There's no messenger who is ever from the desert, the Badia, from like a village. It's always people from the city. That's because they understand the people better and their minds are a lot more open. Allah said, hatta, until. إِذَا اسْتَيْأَسَ الرُّسُلُ, until the messengers, they despaired or they gave up. وَظَنُّوا, and they thought and assumed أنهم that they قد كذبوا. There's two qira'as for this, and I want us, this inshallah is going to be an example of how the qira'at, they change the meaning. When we have كذبوا, كذب يكذب, it means to lie. كذب, so and so lied. When you do a verb فُعِلَ, so كذب, what does it mean? It means the person was lied to. So here what's the word? كذبوا, they were lied to. That's the translation, yeah? Are you with me or not? The translation will be different according to who you attribute the dhamir to, the pronoun. Let's look at it. حتى until إذا استيأس الرسل, until the messengers they started to give up. The messengers they started to give up. وظنوا, the ظنوا, and they assumed. Take that back to first. No, so the first translation will be take all of the dhamirs back to who? The disbelievers. Listen, every single dhamir, وظنوا, كذبوا, take those two dhamirs back to who? Disbelievers. What's the translation going to be? Until the messengers they gave up, that no one's listening to them. وَظَنُّوا, and the disbelievers they believed. أَنَّهُمْ, that the disbelievers قَدْ كُذِبُوا, they were lied to. Does that make sense or not? So all of the dhamirs they go back to who? The disbelievers. So the messengers they gave up, and then what happened? The disbelievers they assumed that they were lied to. If we, however, take dhannu, the first one, bring it back to the disbelievers, and the remaining dhamair to the messengers, what's the translation going to be? Until the messengers they gave up, وَظَنُّوا, and the disbelievers they assumed and thought and believed, أَنَّهُمْ, that the messengers قَدْ كُذِبُوا, they were lied to by their Lord. Does that make sense or not? What happened after that? جَاءَهُمْ نَصْرُنَا, our aid and victory came to the messengers. فَنُجِّيَ مَن نَشَاء, and then whomsoever we willed was saved. وَلَا يُرَدُّ بَأْسُنَا, and our harm and our affliction is never turned away. عَنِ الْقَوْمِ الْمُجْرِمِينَ, from those who are the criminals. What's that trying to say to the Messenger ﷺ? O Messenger, a people came before you, in terms of there's messengers that came before you. They also lost hope, just like you're losing hope. You're thinking no one's going to listen to me, they're not listening to me, that this is from me, that this is from Allah. There's messengers that came before you likewise, who were close to giving up, to the extent that the disbelievers started to think and assume that the messengers were lied to. And the messengers were accused of being lied to by their God. Then our Savior came. And know, O Muhammad ﷺ, that whenever we see a group of criminals, our affliction and our punishment is never turned away from them. Meaning, we're going to deal with these people, don't worry about that. Clear or not clear? If we say, كُذِّبُوا, كَذَّبَ يُكَذِّبُ, it no longer means so-and-so lied or was lied to. It means to deny. كَذَّبَ, so-and-so denied. كُذِّبَ, so-and-so was denied. Every single dhamir only goes back to the prophets. So look, حَتَّى إِذَا اسْتَيْأَسَ الرُّسُلُ, until the messengers they gave up. وَظَنُّوا, and the messengers assumed. And the messengers ظَنُّوا, they came to know. أَنَّهُمْ, that they, the messengers, قَدْ كُذِّبُوا, they were denied. They said, you know what? Everyone's denied us. خلاص, we have been denied. No one's listening to us. جَاءَهُمْ, it came to them who? Who did it come to? It came to the messengers, نَصْرُنَا, our victory. فَنُجِّيَ مَن نَشَاءُ, and then we saved whomsoever we will. So, O Muhammad, likewise yourself, think like that. If you are in a state where you are despairing from Allah's mercy, from Allah's help, and you think that قَدْ كُذِّبْتَ, you have been denied, then don't worry, we're going to bring you victory. Then Allah concluded the surah by saying, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ, indeed in their stories, i.e. the stories of the prophets. Another tafsir says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي قَصَصِهِمْ, indeed in their stories, فِي قَصَصِهِمْ, in the stories of the people that are involved in this story. Meaning, the 11 brothers, the mom, the dad, even the 2 that were in the prison. So the story of Yusuf basically, عبرة is a lesson. لأولي الألباب, for those who have intellect. ما كان حديثا يفترى, it is not a fabricated story. ولكن, however, تصديق الذي, it is the confirmation of that. بين يديه, which came before. It's just confirming what came before. Nothing new is in here. It's just confirming what was in the Torah and the Injil. وَتَفْصِيلَ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ, and it is an explanation of everything. وَهُدًى, is a guidance. وَرَحْمَةً, and mercy to who? لِقَوْمٍ يُؤْمِنُونَ, to those who believe. May Allah make us from them. Quick, inshaAllah ta'ala, 10 benefits we take from that portion. And then also generally some benefits thought of within the whole surah. And then a final concluding advice, inshaAllah. Not advice, but a final concluding benefit we can take from this whole series. The first one, inshaAllah ta'ala, from those points is, brothers, the first one is, الرجل الصادق النبيل لا يتغير صفاته وأخلاقه بحسب ما كان على الفقر والغنى. The person who is noble, honorable, truthful, he's truthful, a truthful person, sadiq, someone who is 100% truthful. His characteristics, morals do not change according to what stage he is in life. Where did we get that from? How many times did the fact that Yusuf is min al-muhsineen come in the Quran? When he was thrown into a well, and then he was عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا. When he went to prison, what did they say to him? أراك من المحسنين. We see you from the good ones. He was good to people in his low times in life. He's in prison. He doesn't have wealth. He's poor. He was being good. Later on, when he becomes a king and he becomes the minister, what happens then? What did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say? إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِيعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. This is towards the end of the surah. You know, when the brothers came to him, they said, look, give us a bit of charity as well. Just add some for us. Now he's rich. Now he's someone of authority. He didn't change the way he is because he believes in what? Being good to people. The point is, from the beginning of his life, what was he? He was muhsin in his low times. All the way until the end, he was also muhsin. He didn't change around his ways of being a good human being according to the circumstance he was in life. هذه قاعدة مهمة جدا, which we can all take a benefit from. When we are poor, we don't give as much. Or shall I say, when we are perhaps not in the best state of our lives, we start to change as humans. We're not as kind to people. You're going through some hardship, right? You may be going through some difficulty in life. Don't let your personality change. Still be the smiley person that everyone sees. Still be the person that helps others just because you're not being helped. La. And then later when you become rich and you have authority, only then don't start doing things. That is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for being a muhsin. The second benefit, inshaAllah ta'ala, is لا تيأس من رحمة الله. Do not despair from the mercy of Allah. Despairing from the mercy of Allah is connected to another principle, which is always having husnul dhan with Allah. Brothers, we might be going through difficulties, hardships, lakin one who is persistent or not despairing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, I don't know when it's going to come, but wallahi it will come. When will it come? After 73 years, after 80 years for Yaqub. But what did he do? إِنَّهُ مَن يَتَّقِ وَيَصْبِرُ. He was patient. What did he say to his children? لا تيأسوا من روح الله إنه لا ييأس من روح الله إلا القوم الكافرون. Children, my boys, go and find Yusuf and be one who doesn't despair. The moment you despair and you start to think, I'm not going to get what I want, Allah's not going to help me, that's when it's going to come. Be patient. إنه من يصبر ويتقي. The third thing is always to have optimism with Allah. Be optimistic. What did Yusuf, what did Yaqub alayhi salam say to his children? إنما أشكو بثي وحزني إلى الله وَأَعْلَمُ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُ. What do we know from Allah that we can always say, I know I'm going through this, but أَعْلَمُ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُ. What is it as Muslims we know? What do we know about Allah? Huh? We know that He's Alim, He's Hakim. Sah wala la? He's Jabbar, He's Malikul Muluk. We know these things about Allah. Why is it that we don't use Allah's names, what we know of Him, to help us in our situations? Yes, I know I'm going through a low period, I know. But I know about Allah something else as well. I know that when His servants, they fear Him, He looks after them. I know that He tests His servants to see if they are true. I know these things. I know Allah, He's the giver. He's the one who gives. I know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He gives, it doesn't decrease in His kingdom. We know these things. We need to make it something implemented in our lives. Like Yaqub alayhi salam. 80 years Hassan al-Basri mentions. He never stopped. He wouldn't stop. He would continue and continue. The next thing, inshallah, the next benefit is to always attribute your blessings to Allah. Brothers, I'm going to tell you now, there isn't one thing on the face of this earth that you have attained through your efforts alone on this earth. I'm promising you that today. Wallahi, there's nothing. Wallahi, there's nothing whatsoever. You have children, you might have taken the means, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You might have knowledge, it's from Allah. You might have a family, you might have a car, you might have wealth, wallahi, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What did Yusuf alayhi salam do? And this is the etiquettes of a true believer, a true righteous person. Yusuf alayhi salam, what does he say? When his brothers, they came to him, 2 times he does this in the surah. The first time was when his brothers, they came to him. And what did they say? They said, are you Yusuf? What did he say? Yes, I am Yusuf. And this is my brother. قَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. Him being with his brother, didn't he do the action of putting the cup inside his brother's bag? Didn't he actually do the action? Of course he did. So technically he could have said what? He could have said what? Yes, this is my brother, هذا أخي, and I'm the one who put the stuff in his bag, and alhamdulillah he came to me. What did he say? قَدْ مَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْنَا. Allah was gracious to us that He brought us back together. And then what did he say? إِنَّهُ مَن يَتَّقِي وَيَصْبِرْ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُضِعُ أَجْرَ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. He's not from me. I just done what I could, and then Allah was kind to me, nothing else. When else did he say this? When his brothers, towards the end, look at this, subhanallah. Yusuf alayhi salam, he's currently towards the end of his life in this part when he says it, he's at the pinnacle of achievement when it comes to dunya. He has everything. He has wealth, authority, people are listening to him, he calls the shots, you name it. He's a chief, he's a minister. When his parents and his family came back to him and then they done sujood to him, what did he say? He said, هذا تأويل رؤياي من قبل قد جعلها ربي حقا قد أحسن بي إذ أخرجني من السجن. And my Lord was good to me when He brought me out of prison. Did he say, وقد أحسن بي, my Lord was good to me إذ خرجت من السجن, or إذ أولت رؤيا. He never said, my Lord was good to me when I was starting to interpret dreams for people. He never said that. Because what was the thing that brought him out of prison tangibly? If we remember the story, what actually brought him out of prison? Huh? The dream that the king saw, the king said, go and interpret it for me, bring him. Why? Because I want to make him my side, my worker. Sah wala la. Could he have not said, me being able to interpret dreams allowed me to come out? He said, when my Lord brought me out of prison. What else did he say? وَجَاءَ بِكُم مِّنَ الْبَدْوِ. And He brought you to me, my family, after I was away from them for so long. He brought my family back to me from the desert. What could he have said? Is he not the one that said, go, وَأْتُونِي بِأَهْلِكُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ? Could he have not said that? He didn't say that. What else did he say? من بعد أن نزغ الشيطان بيني وبين إخوتي. My Lord, likewise, He brought to me my brothers after shaitan came between us. Allahu Akbar. That benefit ala kulli hal is, the true believer, he does not see himself to be powerful whatsoever. At all. He has no power, he has no ability. Even if he's doing things and he's working, he's getting up in the morning, wallah, it's only Allah making it happen for him. And we are nothing without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the moment we don't accept that is when Allah begins to take away from us these blessings. What did Allah say? What was the beginning of وَلَئِن كَفَرْتُمْ إِنَّ عَذَابِي شَدِيدٌ وَلَئِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ وَلَئِن كَفَرْتُمْ. That's the part I'm trying to get to. If you deny, it doesn't mean disbelief. If you deny, al-kufr is al-jahad. If you deny and dispute the fact that I gave you these, إِنَّ عَذَابِي لَشَدِيدٌ. My punishment is going to be two. I'm going to punish you on this earth by taking them away from you. And number two, you have a punishment waiting over there, which is adam al-shukr. So we must be a people who don't attribute blessings to ourselves. You don't say to people, I helped you do this, akhi. I helped you do that, akhi. You don't say to people, remember when I helped you that time? La. Remember when Allah done this for you. Remember when Allah done this for us. I couldn't find a house. I couldn't get married. Remember when Allah done this for me. That's how the believer should be. The next benefit, inshaAllah ta'ala, is, brothers, this surah, I want you to, inshaAllah ta'ala, benefit two names and attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this surah is amazing. And we're going to continue for about 15 more minutes after salah, because I actually want to shoot these messages home, because it concludes the benefits of the surah very well, and there's some very powerful points, inshallah. There's 2 minutes left, so I'll do this last point. There's two names that this surah, there's two names that this surah really teaches us. And I want this message to go to anyone that's going through something who doesn't understand why this is happening in their life. A calamity happened, they're waiting to achieve something, they don't know why, they're a bit confused. What are some examples? I can't find a job, for example. It's been a year. I started practicing Islam, I left a haram job, but I just can't find a job. I can't get married, I've gone everywhere, I looked everywhere, it's not happening. There's two names that I want us to take from this surah, and it's so beautiful because Allah starts the surah with these two names, and then He ends the surah with these last two names as well. What are these two names? Alimul Hakim. What did Allah say in the beginning? Right in the beginning, what did He say? وَكَذَلِكَ يَجْتَبِيكَ رَبُّكَ وَيُعَلِّمُكَ مِنْ تَأْوِيلِ الْأَحَادِيثِ وَيُتِمُّ نِعْمَتَهُ عَلَيْكَ وعلى آل يعقوب كما أتمها على أبويك من قبل إبراهيم وإسحاق إن ربك حليم حكيم. And at the end, when his family come to him, when everything happens, they prostrate to him and they're all reunited, what did Allah say? ورفع أبويه وقد أحسن بي إذ أخرجني من السجن وجاء بكم من البدو من بعد أن نزغ الشيطان بيني وبين إخوتي إن ربي لطيف لما يشاء إنه هو العليم الحكيم. I'm going to touch upon that after the salah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
استووا استقيموا تقاربوا. هذا بين المناكب والأقدام. Please straighten the lines إن شاء الله. Turn off your mobile phones. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله. والضحى والليل إذا سجى ما ودعك ربك وما قلى وللآخرة خير لك من الأولى ولسوف يعطيك ربك فترضى ألم يجدك يتيما فآوى ووجدك ضالا فهدى ووجدك عائلا فأغنى فأما اليتيم فلا تقهر وأما السائل فلا تنهر وأما بنعمة ربك فحدث. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألم نشرح لك صدرك ووضعنا عنك وزرك الذي أنقض ظهرك ورفعنا لك ذكرك فإن مع العسر يسرا إن مع العسر يسرا فإذا فرغت فانصب وإلى ربك فارغب. الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. The chair is enough, inshallah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Inshallah, we'll conclude with mentioning 5 or 6 more points, and then inshallah we'll call it a day. The next point I wanted to mention is al-jaza'u min jinsil amal. Another way is al-jaza'u al-ihsani illa al-ihsan. Brothers, in this life, things you do to people will come back round to you. If you do good to them, good will come back round to you. If you do bad to them, bad will come back round to you. And the end result, the person who will be brought low and humbled, is always the oppressor, not the oppressed. There will be a day, if you do something to someone, that Allah perhaps may humiliate you by you needing that person. Where did we get this from? Yusuf alayhi salam's brothers, what did they do to him when he was young? What did his brothers do to him? They threw him down the well, right? Good. After they had done that to him as an evil act out of jealousy and hatred, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought them down to need him. What did they say? What did they say to him when they came for the 3rd time? أَوْفِ لَنَا الْكَيْلُ وَتَصَدَّقَ عَلَيْنَا. For someone to ask for sadaqah is basically begging. When I say asking for sadaqah, I mean for someone to go, please give me money, for example. Now, how humiliating is this? And now you have Yusuf alayhi salam, he's got his crown, he's a king, the whole of Egypt is under his wing. And they're coming not for help, they're coming for what? We beg you, give us some money. So watch out for what you do to people. Watch out for how you treat people. Watch out for how you deal with humans. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the way He works. Al-jaza'u min jinsil amal. The next point inshallah ta'ala is, if someone ever has issues with another human being, if someone has issues with another human being, it's okay and you should forgive them. Holding grudges is not from Islam. Holding grudges is not a characteristic Islam encourages. This is an evil characteristic. It's a characteristic of shaitan that us as humans we need to fight against and purify ourselves from. Yusuf alayhi salam, his brothers, they've done X, Y, and Z to him. Now they've come back. What could he perhaps do to them? He could say, la, you guys done this to me, you done that to me. Remember when I was younger? La. What did he say to them? La tathriba alaykum al-yawm. Yaghfiru Allahu lakum. He says, don't worry. What happened in the past, happened in the past. But I'm going to add something to that, which is, there's nothing wrong, and it isn't belittling or it isn't humiliating if you go to someone that you have wronged in your life and you say to them, I'm sorry, please forgive me. One of the reasons the Mufassirun, they mention why Yusuf actually said, La tathriba alaykum al-yawm. What did they say just before this? وَإِنَّا لَخَاطِئُونَ, they said, look, wallahi, we were wrong, forgive us. We done wrong. We put you down the well. We are the ones who dishonored you, etc., etc. So, بَعْدَ الْإِعْتِرَافِ, after they had admitted their fault, he said, no problem, it's fine. But then sometimes we might be a bit egoistic. We might be a bit, this guy, he wronged me. This guy is, how can I? And the other way around, someone can say, this guy, I'm older than him, I'm more wealthy than him. How can I go to him now and say sorry to him? How can I humble myself? There's nothing wrong with it. And in fact, it is very recommended that one does so. The next benefit is the habkatul qasasiyya that I was talking about. Yusuf's thobe. Yusuf's thobe. Yusuf's thobe comes 3 times. 3 times. The first time it came was when he was put in the well and his brothers, they came. Was that for a good thing or bad thing? His thobe, was it something which was it a, how can I word it? Was it something to remember that gave him bad news? Like, if you look into his life, would you say that thobe that had the blood on it, that they took the father, was it a reason for a cause for sorrow or was it a cause for happiness? Good. What about the second time? When he was running to the door and they said, look, let's check where it's ripped from. Sorrow or good or middle? Middle, good. The third time, what happens? Was it good or bad when they said, take this shirt and throw it on his face? Good. The benefit is, and this is a very intricate, subtle benefit, is something that could be the cause of your happiness one day can be the cause of your sadness another. And something that likewise causes you to be sad one day can be the axe as well. So be moderate in everything. This shirt that Yusuf alayhi salam later on says, throw it in the face of my father, he's going to become, is the same shirt, it's a shirt of Yusuf that was the reason for his sorrow in his early ages. How can we implement that with human interaction, human relations? Don't cut someone off and never give them a chance again. That same person could be the reason for your bliss and your happiness on the earth. Likewise, be moderate. Someone later on in your life can hurt you. You have to be moderate. And likewise, as Muslims, we take our means. We don't just say, khalas, I'm going to be good with everyone at every moment, and I'm going to be bad with everyone. La, 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 la. You assess the situation, you see the circumstance, and then you act a certain way to someone. But never, ever, 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 ever make it extreme. This is with every human being. Because that which makes you happy, it's not just with humans. Your phones, what else? Maybe a football team, maybe, something that makes you happy one day can make you sad another. I want to, inshallah ta'ala, ponder upon the last point, which I believe is the most profound message in the entire surah. And if you haven't taken anything so far from this surah, brothers, is to take the point which I'm going to mention now. In fact, no, I forgot to mention Alim al-Hakim, right? Surah to Yusuf, brothers, it started off, the first two names were Innahu huwa al-Alim al-Hakim, and the second was Innahu huwa al-Alim al-Hakim. Every other place in the Quran where these two names are put together, it's the other way around. It's Hakimun Alim. Ibn Kathir, he mentions it's as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to understand anything. These two names, the entire surah, it's as if it's just explaining these two names in a practical life example. You can imagine Yusuf. Why am I in this well? What did I do to perhaps, get this? How long am I going to be in there? What is the wisdom behind it? Does Allah know? Why is He not helping me in that case? And then accused of zina, he goes to prison. What am I doing in this prison? I haven't even committed anything. I'm innocent. Why? This surah is a practical explanation of these two names, Alim and Hakim. It's as if Allah wants you to understand, you might be going through something, but it's definitely not worse than what Yusuf a.s. went through. Can anyone here today say they're going through something worse? In terms of duration and also how severe it is, we're not going through these. It's as if Allah is saying to you, number one, understand that I know understand that I know and I'm wise. But it's the order. First of all, O my servant, I know you're going through this. Before you even went through it, I knew it. I'm the one who wrote for you to go through it. I'm the one who decreed for you to go through it. I know even how you're going to act with it. I know the end result, all of it. But also, my servant, there is a wisdom behind it. It's not just that I know and then I leave it there. La. I know and I'm doing it for a specific reason. All you need to do is believe in it, accept it, and be at peace with it. It might be difficult, it might be hard, you might cry for X amount of years like Yaqub alayhi salam, you might go blind. What's the worst that can happen? What's the worst that can happen in someone's sorrow and hardship? Worst thing someone's going through, what's the worst end result? Death. And if you die, you will meet me in a state of patience and I'll reward you with Jannah. But it's hikmah, this is me who's controlling all of these things. So it's very profound. Out of every single name Allah could have used, He used that. The last inshallah ta'ala message that I want to get through is the conclusion of the story. And brothers, this is the reason we are all here for on this earth. Many of us might have wealth, authority, jobs, 4 wives, they might have health, they might have, you name it. What else is there in the dunya? A nice car, a nice house, you name it. It's not haram to have those things. But listen carefully to this. Yusuf alayhi salam, he went through all of the hardships of his life, which we said the time he left his father when he was playing with the brothers to when they all were reunited at Hasan al-Basri, it was 80 years. Imagine what he's going through. Towards the end part of his life, what happened to him? He became the leader of Egypt. What has he got now? Anything he says, he's listened to. Any command he's given, people do it. Every single piece of wealth on the land of Egypt is under his name. The houses, the camels, the cars, you name it. Despite the fact that he's at the pinnacle of life when it comes to dunya, what did he say towards the end? What did he say towards the end? وقد أحسن بي إذ أخرجني من السجن وجاء بكم من البدو من بعد أن نزغ الشيطان بيني وبين إخوتي إن ربي لطيف لما يشاء إنه هو العليم الحكيم. What's the next part? ربي قد آتيتني من الملك وعلمتني من تأويل الأحاديث فاطر السماوات والأرض أنت ولي في الدنيا والآخرة. Look, he named all of these blessings. You gave me kingship, I'm a king, I have authority, I have knowledge. علمتني من تأويل الأحاديث. What did he say? توفني مسلما وألحقني بالصالحين. Brothers, that is the ultimate of life. This is the pinnacle of life. The pinnacle in which Yusuf ﷺ was at. What did he yearn for at the end? Just when I die, Ya Allah, make sure you take me as a Muslim. I beg you to take my life as a Muslim. What does that show us? He could have said, Ya Allah, you've given me this. Can you also give me this? Was he missing from the dunya anything else? Yes, he was. Allah said, آتيتني من الملك. He wasn't given all of kingdom. وعلمتني من تأويل الأحاديث. You told me from the interpretation. He couldn't interpret every dream. He had things that were still missing from his life. But he's at the pinnacle. Did he ask for more? Did he ask, Ya Allah, give me this as well, give me more of this? La. His main thing, despite the fact that he's at everything, what did he say? That's not the main thing in my life. The benefit is, nothing you have on the face of this earth means anything. Wallahi, it does not mean anything. Whatsoever on the face of this earth. If you, the day you pass away, Allah is not pleased with you. And what Allah is going to do during your life, if you believe that, is He will give you a life of misery through the things you love. You have a life of misery through your car, life of misery through your friends, life of misery through your everything, your work. If your focus is not the akhirah, tawaffani musliman, you don't have that as your slogan for life, like Yusuf alayhi salam, wallahi, you will live a life of misery. You won't just live a life of misery, but when you die, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is waiting for a painful punishment. Now this isn't the way Yusuf alayhi salam only was. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Aisha radiallahu anha, listen carefully to this. The Quran, brothers, it sends us the message of, this is the message it always sends to us. It says it in different ways, stories, sometimes people of the past, sometimes about the akhirah, things of the future. But the final message of the Quran is, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you life. So life is from Allah, to Allah, so make it for Allah. That's the slogan of the entire Quran. And it's done in different ways. Stories, I'm going to tell you about Yusuf alayhi salam's story. But once I've told you, do what? Tawaffani musliman wa alhiqni bis salihin. This is the slogan. And it's not just Yusuf alayhi salam. This was what was incredibly profound. Every messenger was like that. And the best of messengers was like that as well. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Aisha radiallahu anha, she tells us, when he was on his deathbed, look guys, look, listen. The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam lived for 63 years. The majority of his life was hardships, difficulties, exile, kicked out of his country, hijrah, persecuted, you name it. A hard, tough life. Towards the end period of his life, what happened? He started to get the wealth of what? Spoils of war. He would win over the Arabian Peninsula, Fathu Mecca. His life was made a bit easier. Likewise, they're in preparation to now take over Rome. The Romans, the Persians, Allah says, غُلِبَتِ الرُّوم. And you can imagine, towards the end part of Muhammad ﷺ's life, he should be the one that is the most happiest and yearning for, look, I have all of this. There's nothing else he could have been given. Arabian Peninsula is his. The Romans are going to be defeated soon. The Persians, dunya, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam has taken over. He has everything now. He's on his deathbed. What does he say? Aisha radiallahu anha, she says, Ar-Rafiq al-A'la, Ar-Rafiq al-A'la. He says, Ya Allah, I ask you to give me the company of the most righteous ones. Meaning, take me, make me die and be in the company of the righteous. Meaning, allow me to, this dunya, I don't want it. I don't want to take part in it anymore. It's done. I just want to be with the righteous people. That ayah, tawaffani musliman walhiqni bis-salihin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered that dua. There's a narration which is mentioned that Yaqub alayhi salam, he asked Yusuf alayhi salam, when I die, tawaffani muslim walhiqni bis-salihin, bury me next to Ibrahim alayhi salam and Ishaq. And then his son, once he died, he ended up doing that for him. He took him just to fulfill walhiqni bis-salihin, and now he's buried with these two noble prophets. Ala kulli hal, I want to conclude by giving you that message. Brothers, connect yourselves to Allah. Let's connect ourselves to Allah. Let's connect ourselves to Allah. Let's remember how Allah has looked after us in our lives. Let's take a ponder upon how Allah loves us, how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks after us, and He's always there for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we were born, in fact, when we were in the stomach of our mothers, who knew that you needed food? Or should I say, who had the ability to give you food? No one. Your mother, who loves you the most, she had no power whatsoever. What did He do? A little tube, umbilical cord here. I know you, oh my servant, that you need food inside there, in the darkness, that no one else knows, that no one else has power over. So I'm going to give you this. Then your mother is about to give birth. So what does she do? Because your Lord knows that the only thing you can drink is her breast milk, what does He do? Closer to the birth, she starts to produce breast milk. Have you never pondered upon this? The mother, she doesn't have breast milk for the whole year, for the whole, and her whole life. La. It's connected to the moment you're starting to enter this earth. And then who taught you to suckle the breast of your mother? Allah. And then you grew up. And then He gave us health. And then He gave us wealth. And then He gave us a family that love us. And then He gave us a car. And then He gave us security. And let's connect ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's be a people who uphold the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wallahi, we've come short. And this is one thing I've seen in the West more so. We have come very, 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 very short. Love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and make that love of Allah be manifested in your actions. Someone doesn't claim that I love Allah except it's seen through him. He will talk about Allah, he speaks about Allah, he studies about Allah, he prays to Allah. Allah is the one centered. Everyone else is around Allah. Mom, dad, children, wife, you name it, my car, everything else. But what have we done? These things can come first. Mom, dad, wife, my health, hobbies, food. When I can squeeze something in for Allah, let me squeeze it in. Nas'alullah as-salamata wal afiyah. I wanted to inshallah conclude with two advices, which is something I saw specifically from the class. This is something I saw from the class, which I want to inshallah ta'ala give you an advice on. That is, brothers, learn the Arabic language. Learn the Arabic language. Make it incumbent upon yourself to get up and learn the Arabic language. You will never, ever, 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 ever be able to understand Allah's words unless you learn the Arabic language fully, properly. Of course, taking out alif, lam, mim and the huruf al-muqatta and the things that we don't know. Now, I saw that because there were so many things that I could have mentioned in the surah that are benefits to do with grammar, sarf, even adab. So many things are left out. I'm going to give you an example just so you guys can understand. And in fact, you understanding the story is connected to you being able to understand the Arabic language. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned that there were dreams that certain people had in the surah, right? The fi'l for having a dream is ara, yara. I see in my dream. Ara, yara. Ara is past tense, present tense is? So ra'a, yara. Ra'a, yara. Listen carefully. How many dreams are in the surah? 4. What's the first one? Yusuf's dream. Second one. Second and third, in fact. They're the 2 dreams that the 2 boys in the prison have. The 4th one is what? The dream of the king. All 4 of them, except one, Allah used the present tense to say ara. Only one time He said ra'aytu. The Quran, brothers, is mu'jiz. It is a walking miracle. Metaphorically. It is a miracle. The linguistic miracle of the Quran is zahir for the one who learns the Arabic language. You should ask yourself, why on earth did Allah, for every other person who had the dream, say ara, but Yusuf alayhi salam said ra'aytu? The Mufassirun, they mention and say, Yusuf alayhi, a fi'l mudari, a present tense verb in the Arabic language, is used to show something happens often. If you say, for example, I sit in the masjid from this time to that time, what does that prove? Do you do it once or often? Often. I go to the masjid, for example, and pray. What does that show? Often. Takrar. The fi'l madi is only once. I sat in the masjid. I went to the masjid. Yani it doesn't show repetition ever. So the reason why Allah said, Inni ra'aytu ahada ashra, I saw in my dream this many, but all of the others said, Inni ara sab'a baqaratin, Inni arani a'siru khamra, Inni arani ahmilu fawqa ra'si, is because how old was Yusuf alayhi salam when he saw that dream? Was he old or young? He was a baby, right? The boys, when they had that dream, them, however, they weren't babies. Allah said, وَدَخَلَ مَعَهُ سِجْنَ فَتَيَانِ. It's not sabiyan, they're not babies, they're not little children. The king likewise, he's elderly, right? Good. The reason is, Yusuf alayhi salam, he only saw the dream one time, and then because he was scared and he didn't know what's going on, and children usually, when they see a dream, what do? They don't use their brain and say, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. What do? Dad, I saw a dream, tell me X, Y, and Z. Like in the others were at an age where, elder people, what do? When you have a dream, you don't straight away think there's something of it, do you? La. What do you say to yourself? Yeah, maybe it's something else, maybe it's just waswas. What if it happens 5, 6, 7 times, the exact same dream? Then you're going to go and seek explanation of it. So Yusuf alayhi salam only saw it once, and because he's a child, he ran to his father and done X, Y, and Z. Likewise, the boys, the other lads, however, they saw it many times. Another example is, when Yusuf alayhi salam, his brother came to him. When Yusuf alayhi salam, all the boys came to him, and then he went to the corner with his brother Binyamin. What did he say to him? Inni ana akhuka, right? Someone who learns the Arabic language by default will see, Inni ana akhuka, there's something going on here. How do you say, I am your brother? Ana akhuk. Ana, I, akhuka, am your brother. Why on earth did Yusuf alayhi salam have to use this strange structured sentence where he said, Inni ana akhuka? Another example would be when Yusuf alayhi salam, later they ask him, Innaka la anta Yusuf. How do you say, are you Yusuf? You say, Hal anta Yusuf, right? Why do you say, Innaka la anta Yusuf? This is extra. The lam al-ibtida, the inna of tawqid, why is it there? Because the point I'm trying to get to ala kulli hal is, learn the Arabic language. There are miracles in the Quran. When you learn the Arabic language, and you see how the Quran is made up, and you see how, and even when Allah says, make a surah like it, make this many verses like it, is because of mainly the construction of the language. And one who doesn't will never be able to taste the Quran, will never be able to taste the meaning of the Quran. So that's my advice to you, inshaAllah ta'ala. Especially if you want to learn what Allah is saying. You want to know the in-depth meaning of what Allah is talking about. Why he said it like this and not like this? Because it's connected to what he wants from you. It's connected to what he wants. Why are instructions? Why is innahu al-alim al-hakim come right in the beginning, but it didn't come at the end of the surah? Why did it not come at the end of the surah? It came at the end of the story. Because innahu al-alim al-hakim has nothing to do with other than the story. فَعَلَى كُلٍّ, I don't want to make it too long, inshaAllah ta'ala. I want to conclude with a statement that Ahmad ibn Asim al-Antaki, who died the year 234, he was the Atba'u Tabi'i. Ahmad ibn Asim al-Antaki, he said a very profound statement. And we can all today, inshaAllah ta'ala, take as our final concluding advice. Brothers, learn about Allah. He never said that, I'll tell you what he said, but the message is, learn about Allah, ta'arraf ala Allah, learn about who Allah is, learn about how Allah works. The only way you will do that is going to durus, lessons. Let there not, I don't understand how a Muslim who believes in Allah and His Messenger does not learn the deen. And don't say to me because they have no time, it's impossible. Even once a week, there must be a dars, a lesson that you go to every single week, where you learn the deen. Without this, you're going to be an empty cup. And that cup, what do we have in the West? There's filth already going inside it. Someone who isn't hearing قال Allah, قال الرسول, 1 week goes by and they haven't heard that once, they're in a dangerous position. And I'll be honest with you, there's nothing to be jealous about on the face of this earth towards people except one thing, which is what? Ahmad ibn Asim al-Antaki, rahimahullah, he said, لا أغبط إلا من عرف مولاه. He said, I'm not jealous of anyone on this earth. There's not anyone. A rich person who has cars, wealth, a king. The only person I'm jealous of is one person. Is the person who truly knows their Lord. And truly knowing Allah isn't, yes, I believe in Allah, His names and attributes and khalas. La. This is a deep, intimate connection with Him, where everything revolved around your life is with Him. It's a close relationship that no one, and the feeling of it is better than anything on this earth. My message is, you cannot do that, and you cannot reach that status of having that connection with Allah that we're all yearning for. Shame on us, shame on us, shame on us. The one who knows his Lord can have nothing on this earth, but he'll be the happiest. The one who knows Allah, and I say know Allah, he knows Allah. It's not a name for him. It's not just a deity that's out of this earth and his name is Allah and he has these, la. He cries out to Him, he speaks to Him, he prays to Him, he fasts for Him, he gets married for Him, he eats for Him, he sits for Him. That's the one who knows Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything which I've said which is wrong is from shaitan. Anything good is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Forgive me inshallah if I've wronged anyone. If I've said anything over the past 6 weeks or so that I might have been, that might have offended anyone here. Forgive me if I have come short in the actual lessons, if I have been speaking too fast, if I have gone over time. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reunite us in Jannah if we don't see again. إِنَّهُ وَلِيُّ ذَلِكَ وَالْقَادِرُ عَلَيْهِ. All we can do is make dua for each other. I'll make dua for you, you make dua for me. I am happy, and the main thing I want you to take from this series, this lesson, is that understanding the Quran and the effect it has on us. Brothers, learn the meaning of the Quran. Learn the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't be someone who reads Allah's words, the one who spoke. The fact that we know Allah said words, He said something, and those things He said were limited to, when I say limited, I don't mean Allah's speaking is limited, but the words that He decided to give to us is limited to this many words. And then He specifically says, I want you as my servant, it's for you, it's for no one else. And then we read it and don't understand it. And we read it and we don't take it in and we don't act upon it. This is a shame. If we today heard the king wants to call you or speak to you, but he has a different language, what would you do? You'd go and find an interpreter. How much would you pay? You'd pay money to find out what he's saying. Learn what Allah is saying. Learn what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from you. And the best way to get closer to Allah Rabbul Izzah is through His words. That's the best way. And then acting upon what you hear and then worshipping Allah. So let's work hard upon that inshaAllah ta'ala. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum.